The aliens expected us to beg. Instead, we smiled politely, poured them a cup of coffee, and asked if they preferred cream or surrender. The aliens expected us to beg. Instead, we smiled politely, poured them a cup of coffee, and asked if they preferred cream or surrender. The universe watched Earth's defeat in high definition. Alien networks replayed the fall of the defense line on endless loops, colonies burning, orbital stations shattered, and retreating human ships dissolving into streaks of light. Commentators with mandibles, frills, and luminous eyes declared the war over. Humanity's experiment in the stars had ended, they said, a brief flicker of defiance smothered by the inevitable weight of superior civilizations. Captain Elias Ward stirred his coffee slowly, ignoring the shrieking headlines scrolling across the alien channels. His command deck buzzed with muted voices, analysts feeding reports, officers comparing data streams, but the man at the center of it all moved with the unhurried rhythm of someone waiting for bread to toast. "Sir," his adjutant said, breathless. "Mars' defense grid collapsed in under an hour. Luna is under blockade. Our colonies in Vega Prime are ash." Ward nodded, took a sip, and grimaced. "Still tastes like burnt rubber. You'd think after first contact, we'd have at least stolen someone's decent coffee recipe." The adjutant blinked. "Captain, with respect, this is catastrophic." "Yes," Ward replied, setting the mug down gently. "That's what makes it interesting." Hours later, in the polished grandeur of the Galactic Council chamber, the victors assembled. Marble-like stone from a collapsed star formed the dais. Translators hummed in the air, filtering languages into something every species could tolerate. The delegation from the Croth Dominion took center stage. Towering and insectoid, their carapaces gleamed with ceremonial polish. They stood with the confidence of predators who believed the hunt already finished. Their speaker, Ambassador Tkor, opened with a clicking laugh that grated through the hall. "Humans," he began, "your outer defenses are shattered. Your colonies lie in ruins. Your fleets are scattered remnants. Accept that your experiment in the stars has failed. Lay down your arms, and we may consider preserving what remains of your kind." Laughter rippled through some factions, especially the younger empires eager to watch Earth fall. Others shifted uneasily. Ward stepped forward, uniform pressed, posture easy. He looked like a man about to deliver a polite lecture in a college hall, not someone whose people had been declared extinct in all but paperwork. He inclined his head. "Ambassador Tkor, thank you for your generous offer." His smile was razor-thin but pleasant. "I must admit, your efficiency in dismantling our defenses was impressive. You've certainly given our historians plenty to write about." Tkor tilted his head, antennae twitching. "You speak as if you admire us. Strange for prey." Ward chuckled softly. "Prey? Oh no. We don't see ourselves that way." He folded his hands behind his back. "We're more like chess players. You know the game." The ambassador hissed. "A primitive distraction." "True," Ward said, voice even. "But in chess, you sometimes sacrifice pawns early. The board looks empty, the king seems exposed. Then the real pieces move." He leaned forward slightly. "That's when the game begins." The chamber murmured. Some laughed at the arrogance. Others frowned, weighing the words. From the council's rear rows, a frail elder of the Celery Confederacy whispered, "Humans are smiling." "That's wrong. Cornered prey doesn't smile." After the session, several alien delegates confronted Ward in the antechamber. "You hide your despair behind humor," snapped a reptilian envoy. Ward offered him a paper cup of coffee. "Careful, it's hot. Just like our temper." The reptile recoiled. A smaller avian diplomat fluttered nervously. "You speak of chess and pawns. Are you suggesting the destruction of your defenses was deliberate?" Ward gave a sympathetic look. "Oh, don't worry yourself. We're terrible at long-term planning." He tapped his mug. "We just like to keep a surprise or two under the table." Their feathers ruffled with unease. Back aboard his command vessel, Ward's officers surrounded him with questions. Sir, the council thinks we're bluffing, said Lieutenant Harper. Of course they do, Ward replied. That's the first step of every good trick. Make sure your audience believes the magician is fumbling. Another officer frowned. But our colonies, our defenses. Gone, Ward said, finishing the thought. His voice was calm, clinical. Exactly as planned. They struck where we left the door wide open. Now they think we're out of cards. He turned toward the panoramic glass where the stars stretched like an endless black ocean. They're about to learn humans don't play with a single deck. Across alien networks, propaganda intensified. One broadcast showed human refugees escorted by alien soldiers, captions declaring the age of humanity ends. Another displayed simulations of Earth under blockade, resources dwindling, surrender inevitable. Ward watched one such broadcast, chuckling under his breath. Reminds me of old boxing commentators, he mused aloud. He's down in the fifth, no way he's getting back up. Then the guy gets up, bloodied, grinning, and knocks the other poor soul into next week. Harper hesitated. You're saying we're that fighter? Ward sipped his coffee. I'm saying, they haven't seen our right hook. In the Galactic Council's private channels, fractures appeared. Some species debated whether humanity might have hidden weapons. Reports surfaced of alien patrols disappearing near abandoned human sectors. One message read, "Ghost ships sighted. Thousands. Cloaked. Silent." The Croth dismissed it as hysteria. Human desperation. They spread rumors to frighten children. Yet unease spread like cracks in glass. Ward drafted a message to Earth's hidden allies, his words precise. Phase 2 is ready. Let them celebrate. The longer they laugh, the sharper the silence will cut when it arrives. He closed the file and leaned back in his chair. The bridge hummed with muted activity, but his calm radiated outward, steadying the crew. Finally, Harper approached again. Sir, what happens when they realize the truth? Ward smiled, slow and deliberate. Then, he said, they'll understand what happens when you wake something that prefers to sleep. The alien news cycle crowed about human surrender. Victory parades began on distant worlds. Statues were planned to commemorate the defeat of Earth. But in the darkness beyond charted space, something stirred. Ships long thought buried powered up, engines humming like the breath of giants. And on the bridge of the flagship, Captain Elias Ward whispered to no one in particular, "Checkmate's coming." The Galactic Council chamber had never been so loud. Delegates shouted over one another, voices blending into a storm of hisses, clicks, rumbles, and electronic distortions. The Croth Dominion called for immediate invasion of Earth itself. The avians of the Tyrrhok flock demanded proof of humanity's supposed annihilation. The elder Celery simply sat still, dark eyes fixed on nothing, as though listening to a melody no one else could hear. At the center of the storm, Captain Elias Ward adjusted his cuffs. He didn't speak at first. He let the chaos swirl until several counselors began glancing his way, waiting for him to flinch. Instead, he took a slow sip of water, cleared his throat, and offered a thin smile. "Ladies, gentlemen, and other distinguished forms," Ward began, his voice smooth, "I couldn't help noticing that everyone here sounds less like victors and more like gamblers arguing whether the dice are loaded." Silence cut through the chamber for a moment. Ambassador Tkor of the Croth rose, carapace gleaming. "You dare mock us, human? Your defenses fell in hours. You've lost half your colonies. Your fleets flee like rats from fire. You are broken." Ward bowed his head slightly. "You're right. On the surface, we're broken. Shattered glass on the floor. The kind you should sweep up before someone steps on it barefoot." A ripple of unease ran through the chamber. The Celery elder finally spoke, voice soft but carrying. "Glass cuts." Back aboard the Resolute, Ward gathered his senior staff in the dimly lit briefing room. Maps of destroyed colonies and battle losses projected in glowing red across the table. The officers' faces reflected fatigue and quiet anger. "Let's skip the pep talk," Ward began. You all know the official story. According to the galaxy, humanity is finished. According to me, he tapped the table, and the red projections shifted into gray silhouettes of massive warships. We've only cleared the board for the real game. The crew leaned forward. These are ghost signatures, Ward continued. Cloaked vessels reported near our graveyards. Convenient, isn't it? Entire fleets crushed, their wrecks drifting silently, and now, shadows move among the debris. Lieutenant Harper frowned. And the aliens bought it? Ward smirked. Hook, line, and sinker. They think desperation drives us to spread spooky campfire stories. Let them laugh. Fear works best when it grows in silence. While Ward plotted, reports circulated through alien channels. A Kroth patrol ship vanished without a distress signal. Days later, a mining convoy stumbled across its wreck, hull sliced open with surgical precision, crew missing. No weapons fire. No debris trail. Another message followed from the Tiruk flock. A scout squadron claimed they had seen entire flotillas, black shapes drifting in formation, before their instruments failed. The recordings ended with a single phrase, spoken in terrified Tiruk dialect, "They are awake." The Kroth dismissed the claims as hysteria. Humans spread rumors to slow our advance, Ambassador Tkor declared. They cannot hide. They cannot fight. They are finished. Still, several younger empires hesitated. The Celery Elder warned them quietly, "Beasts smile before they strike." Ward soon found himself summoned again before the council. This time the chamber was less theatrical. The air tasted of tension. Delegates leaned in, antennae twitching, feathers fluffed, tails coiled. "Human," Tkor said, voice colder now, "your people spread lies of phantom fleets. Ghosts in the dark. Admit this trick, and perhaps mercy remains." Ward clasped his hands politely. "Ghosts? You give us too much credit. Humanity doesn't need ghosts." He let the words hang, then added, "We're quite enough to worry about alive." Several counselors hissed in agitation. A smaller aquatic envoy spoke up, trembling. "If you are finished, why do you laugh? Why do you sip water while worlds burn?" Ward looked almost sympathetic. "Because fear tastes better when it's your fear, not ours." The chamber erupted again, but this time the undercurrent was not triumph, it was unease. Back on the Resolute, Ward's officers pressed him. "Sir, how long can we bluff?" Harper asked. Ward leaned over the tactical map, shadows pooling across his face. "Who says it's a bluff?" The room went quiet. "You mean," another officer began. Ward raised a hand. "Not yet. Timing matters. Let them believe we're cornered. Let them laugh at our phantoms. Because when the curtain lifts, I want their laughter to freeze in their throats." Alien broadcasts began showing strange edits. Some cut transmissions before human prisoners smiled during interviews. Others muted footage where survivors spoke calmly instead of begging. Observers noted a disturbing pattern. Humanity's civilians looked patient. One commentator whispered, "They act like people who know something we don't." Ward sat in his quarters that night, writing a report meant for human eyes only. The Dominion grows arrogant. The Council splinters. Their fear ripens. When the silent Armada rises, they will finally understand what it means to corner a species that built its history on losing wars, until it didn't. He sealed the file, locked it, and leaned back. The stars outside glimmered like teeth. 3 days later, another alien fleet disappeared near the ruins of the Vega Prime colonies. No distress beacons. No survivors. Only static-filled fragments of comms, echoing words in broken translation. Shadows everywhere. No sound, The signal ended abruptly. Alien councils demanded answers. Some began quietly withdrawing their forces from human territory. Others doubled down, desperate to prove strength. Ward, standing on his bridge, watched the reports unfold with a calm smile. "Pawns are off the board," he murmured. "Now the rooks start moving." The first alien commander to see it did not survive long enough to describe it. His fleet had been sweeping through the asteroid belts near Titan, sensors stretched wide, weapons hot. To him, it was a routine patrol, a show of dominance in already conquered space. But then his ships registered motion among the rocks. Not debris. Not natural drift. Shapes. Dozens. Then hundreds. The transmission ended with a single word, spat in raw panic, Armada. Silence followed. In the Galactic Council chamber, panic buzzed like static. Reports came in too quickly to dismiss. Entire squadrons had gone missing. Patrols near ruined human colonies had fallen off the grid. Sensor data, though fragmented, showed vast formations moving in perfect silence. Ambassador Tkor slammed a clawed fist against the dais. Lies. Tricks. The humans spread phantom signals to frighten us. But the celery elder leaned forward, whispering with chilling calm, "No phantom moves in formation. No phantom kills without leaving wreckage." All eyes turned to Captain Elias Ward, who sat with hands folded neatly, expression neutral. "You look awfully comfortable," hissed a Tyrrhic delegate. "Do you deny this?" Ward tilted his head slightly. "Deny? No. I just call it overdue." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices, but Ward raised a hand as if quieting a classroom. "You thought you crushed us," he said, voice measured, almost kind. "But we only set the table. Now the guests have arrived." On the bridge of the Resolute, Ward watched the feed. A tactical officer enlarged the images, shaky but undeniable. Enormous warships rising from asteroid shadows, hulls black and gleaming, weapons arrays dormant but ready. Their design was unmistakably human, yet older, larger, sharper. "Silent Armada is awake," Harper whispered. Ward nodded. "Took them long enough. I was worried the alarm clocks wouldn't go off." "Sir," another officer stammered, "these ships, they weren't in any registry. Where did they come from?" Ward allowed himself a thin smile. "Earth's little hobby. While the galaxy watched our colonies grow, we buried our true strength in places no one bothered to look. Oceans. Ice fields. Rocks circling dead suns. We built an arsenal we prayed we'd never need." The bridge went still. "And now?" Harper asked. Ward's eyes never left the screen. "Now, we pray we woke them in time." The first engagement began near Vega Prime. The Kroth sent a fleet of 60 warships to confirm the ghost reports. They didn't return. Fragments of the battle streamed into Council archives, footage from the doomed Kroth ships before systems failed. Black vessels slid out of nothingness, engines silent, movements precise. They didn't fire barrages or unleash flashy beams. They struck with surgical efficiency, a single rail shot through a reactor, a swarm of drones slicing hulls open, gravity mines pulling ships apart without warning. To alien eyes, it was slaughter without drama. To Ward, it was elegance. On the Resolute, Harper stared at the feed, pale. "They fight like shadows." Ward's reply was soft, almost reverent. "They fight like us when we finally stop pretending to be harmless." The Council demanded answers. Ambassador Tkor roared across the chamber, "You hid this fleet in violation of every treaty. This was deception on a galactic scale." Ward raised an eyebrow. "Deception? Please. You never asked if we had more ships. You assumed weakness. That's not deception, that's poor homework." A ripple of uneasy laughter broke through some of the delegates, though it died quickly under the glare of the Kroth. The celery elder's voice trembled not with fear, but with awe. "You baited them. You baited all of us." Ward's tone stayed polite. "We didn't bait you. You walked willingly. The trick was simply not stopping you." More reports flooded in. Alien admirals described invisible lines snapping shut around them, silent warships cutting off retreat before firing a shot. Entire sectors fell quiet, communications jammed by human signals. The map of galactic space began to flicker with gray, territory once under alien control now marked contested. On the bridge, Ward issued orders with eerie calm. Tell the Armada to avoid unnecessary destruction. Cut engines, disable fleets, scatter survivors. We want witnesses, not corpses. Harper blinked. Witnesses? Ward looked at him. Fear spreads faster than fire. Corpses don't talk. Survivors do. An intercepted Croth broadcast showed one such survivor, eyes wide, mandibles trembling. They don't roar, the alien stammered. They don't gloat. They move without sound, without light. Our weapons. Nothing touches them. It's like fighting the night itself. Ward replayed the clip twice before speaking. I'd almost feel bad for them if they hadn't started it. The council fractured. Some species demanded immediate surrender to humanity, hoping for leniency. Others clung to bravado, insisting the Armada could be overwhelmed if enough fleets were thrown at it. Ward sat in the middle of the storm, sipping his water, speaking only when directly addressed. You still misunderstand, he said finally, voice level. The Armada wasn't built to conquer. It was built to survive, to make sure Earth could never be erased. You drew the blade yourselves when you came for us. And now? A trembling Tyrrek delegate asked. Ward's smile carried no warmth. Now you get to see what survival looks like when painted across a galaxy. That night, as the bridge dimmed, Harper approached quietly. Sir, he asked, why reveal them now? We could have waited longer, let the aliens weaken further. Ward studied the tactical map, glowing with spreading gray zones. Because, he said slowly, predators don't toy forever. At some point they strike clean. We've played polite long enough. Time they saw what happens when humanity stops smiling. He turned away from the map, his voice dropping. Besides, the Armada wasn't built to sit in silence. It was built for nights like this. On the edge of human space, the Armada gathered in formation. Thousands of ships, black against the stars, their weapon systems pulsing like hearts. No drums. No speeches. Just the hum of readiness. Ward stood before the viewing pane, hands clasped behind his back, the faintest glint in his eyes. They crushed our defenses, he murmured. All they did was ring the alarm clock. Behind him, the crew stared at the gathering storm with a mix of fear and awe. The silent Armada had awakened. And the galaxy would never sleep again. The galaxy thought the silent Armada was humanity's desperate weapon. They were wrong. It was bait. Reports poured into the council chamber. Alien fleets thrown at the Armada vanished like sparks in a storm. Entire sectors went dark. Panic bloomed into open collapse, alliances crumbling, leaders fleeing, whispers of surrender bleeding through encrypted channels. Ambassador Tkor raged at the center dais. We must unite. Throw everything at them before they spread further. The celery elder shook her head, pale under the glow of the chamber lights. Unite. We have already lost coherence. They strike where we cannot see, then vanish. They let survivors escape to speak of nightmares. They are writing a story across our sky, and we are the characters who cannot change the ending. All eyes turned to Elias Ward. He sat straight, hands folded neatly, gaze steady as if none of the chaos touched him. You knew, the Tyrrek delegate hissed. You knew this was coming. Admit it. Ward gave a polite half-smile. You're asking the wrong question. Don't ask what I knew. Ask what I'm still not telling you. On the Resolute, Harper stood over the tactical table, voice tight. Sir, enemy reinforcements are massing at Drell's Gap. Estimates say over 2,000 ships. If they break through, they could push into the Armada's flank. Ward studied the holographic map, expression calm. Good. Let them gather. They're walking right where I want them. Harper frowned. Sir, with respect, our Armada can't face those numbers head-on. Ward's gaze cut to him, cold and sharp. You're still thinking in straight lines. Numbers only matter when both sides play the same game. He tapped the display, zooming in on a dense cluster of crimson icons. They believe they've found our weakness. They don't see the snare closing. The trap had been set years before Earth fell. Humanity had laced abandoned colonies, asteroid fields, and ruined shipyards with dormant infrastructure. Relay buoys, disguised power grids, automated factories hidden under rock and ice. To alien scanners, they were debris. To Ward, they were the teeth of a waiting predator. Now the Armada funneled the Council's fleets toward those forgotten zones, pushing them with feints and false retreats, cutting off easy exits. The aliens thought they were cornering the human ghost ships. In truth, they were stepping into a cage. At Drell's Gap, the galaxy's largest coalition fleet assembled. Over 2,000 warships glittered in formation, their admirals certain of victory. Then the stars went out. One by one, massive eclipses slid across the void, shapes long buried in silence awakening under Ward's command. Ancient human fortresses rose from asteroid shells, weapons arrays unfolding like blooming steel flowers. Energy grids flared to life, linking across the system in a lattice of fire. And from the darkness, the Armada itself emerged, not retreating, but surrounding. "Admiral! They're everywhere!" screamed one alien officer across the open channels. Shields collapsing. "What is this?" Ward listened in silence, arms folded behind his back. His officers watched him more than the battle, waiting for a word. "Activate the grid," Ward ordered calmly. Space itself seemed to ignite. Lances of light erupted from hidden platforms, carving through alien hulls with surgical precision. Gravity wells snapped shut, pinning entire formations in place. Rail slugs the size of buildings punched through command ships before their captains even grasped the scale of the ambush. The Council fleet never even fired in unison. It died in fragments, ships scattering in blind panic. On the bridge of the Resolute, Harper whispered, "This isn't war, it's execution." Ward's voice was steady. "No. Execution is mindless. This is demonstration. We're not killing them all, we're showing the galaxy what happens when you corner humanity." Back in the Council chamber, chaos turned to despair as live feeds broadcast the slaughter. Leaders shouted for retreat, for negotiations, for mercy. None came. The Celery Elder's voice cut through the din, trembling but resolute. "This was never about defense. You built this labyrinth, long before the war began." Ward finally rose, his shadow stretching across the chamber floor. "We built it," he said evenly, "because we understood something you never did. Survival isn't just about living another day. It's about making sure no one dares try again." Ambassador Tkor spat. "You've doomed us all." Ward turned his gaze on him, polite as ever, though colder than the void outside. "No," he said. "We've doomed the idea that humanity can be erased. There's a difference." The trap at Drell's Gap lasted hours. When it ended, wreckage floated in silence, thousands of ships reduced to glowing embers against the void. But scattered survivors limped away, carrying stories that would spread faster than any transmission. Stories of black warships that appeared from shadows. Of fortresses disguised as dead rocks. Of a captain who never raised his voice while commanding the fall of empires. On the bridge, Harper exhaled shakily. "They'll never forgive us for this." Ward clasped his hands behind his back, staring at the silent field of wreckage. Forgiveness was never the goal. Fear was. He let the words settle, then added softly, "And fear will keep us alive longer than forgiveness ever could." The Council met again in fractured silence. Many seats stood empty, their delegates dead or in flight. Those who remained no longer argued. They listened. Ward spoke without notes, his tone the same measured calm that had unnerved them from the start. "You believed Earth was gone. You celebrated too early. Now you see the truth. We are not prey. We are not a fading ember. We are the storm you should never have woken." The chamber hung in stunned silence. Ward gave a final, courteous nod. "And if you remember nothing else, remember this: humanity smiles while setting the table. But when the feast begins, we are never the meal." Outside, the silent Armada drifted in perfect formation, black hulls gleaming against the stars. The trap had sprung, the lesson delivered. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, fell quiet. And in that silence, humanity stood unchallenged.